Hey there, yogis, and welcome to Yoga TX. Today we're going to do a flow focused on the psoas, which is just your hip flexor, stretching that out, relaxing that a little bit, and settling into some quiet. So this is for all levels. As always, you can modify, change things. If you have a blanket or a towel at your disposal, go ahead and grab it and set it nearby your mat. And we'll actually get started on our backs today. So go ahead and separate your feet as wide as your mat and bring your knees together to touch. And just start to breathe here. You can rest your eyes closed. Really begin to deepen into your breath. Expand your belly into your hands, which are resting gently on your stomach, on your low belly. And really invite yourself to get curious about your breath here. Filling up your hands with each inhalation and exhalation. And beginning to lengthen your breath, to deepen it. Really inviting yourself to check in, to settle down, and to come to the present moment. To get out of the thoughts of your head and into the sensations of your body. So when we think of relaxing our hip flexors, relaxing in general, we start with the breath to help calm our nervous system, to provide an anchor for our practice. Take 2 more deep breaths here with the hands on your belly. Maybe the deepest breaths you've taken all day. And then after your next exhalation, keeping your body where it is, go ahead and bring your fingers, your 4 fingers, right below your rib cage. And just wrap your thumbs around the back of your body so you're almost hugging your waist with your hands. And now start to breathe into your diaphragm, into that space right below your rib cage. Inhale deeply. And exhaling deeply. And again, as you breathe here, really get curious about your breath. Fill up your hands with your breath. Really widen your rib cage with each inhalation. And allow it to soften with each exhalation. Now start to notice if one side of your body is naturally expanding more than the other. Are you breathing more into one hand than the other hand? And if so, can you really start to breathe evenly into both hands? Breathing in all directions, 360 degrees. Not forcing the breath, but just being gentle with it. Beginning to cultivate that ujjayi. We'll take 5 more breaths here with the hands where they are. Deep and slow. So why do we start with relaxation and the breath when we're releasing the hip flexor? Well, our hip flexor is our flight muscle. It tightens so that we can spring off and run away if we need to. So that when we feel threatened, we can flee. So our goal is to soften out of that stressed threat stage. And to know that you are safe right now. One more breath in and out here. Noticing the challenge that comes with being still and breathing. And then one more location for our breath. Sliding your thumbs up into your armpits. And just resting your palms on your chest. Elbows rest on the mat beside you. And again, start to breathe into your hands here. Really filling up the whole body with your breath to the edges of your skin. Again, noticing if you breathe more into one hand than the other. And really even that out. Breathing equally into the back of your body and the front of your body. Really spreading your rib cage out underneath you on your mat. 2 more breaths here. After your next exhalation, go ahead and release your arms out into a T shape to either side. And just take a moment to pause and notice the full breath moving through your full body. And just check in with the difference in your breathing from now and when you first came to your mat today. Now, keeping your feet exactly where they are at the edges of your mat, just go ahead and drop your knees over towards the right, allowing your hip to come up. Stretching into the front of your hip. Taking one more breath here. And coming back through center. Feet stay where they are. Drop your knees over towards your left. And I invite you as we move through practice today to approach everything with gentleness, with kindness, to slowly deepen into a posture, and to do so mindfully. One more breath here. Exhale. Come back through to center. Draw your palms face down by your sides. Walk your feet in, about hips distance apart. Knees parallel to each other. You can softly open your eyes if you'd like. Root through the edges of your big toe and through your pinky toes. And from here, pressing into your palms, gently squeezing your glutes for today's practice. Inhale and lift your hips into bridge pose. Imagining very gently hugging your knees towards each other, but keeping them parallel. Breathing into your heart space, into your belly, into the front of your hips. Keeping your gaze looking straight up at the ceiling to protect your neck. One more deep breath in. Exhale, release. Your hips lower to your mat. Do this twice more. Press through both sides of your feet. Gently squeeze your glutes and inhale, lift your hips up. Bridge pose. 2 breaths at the top here. And then exhale. Slowly lower your hips all the way down to your mat. One more bridge. Press through your feet, engage your glutes, and slowly lift your hips up. Letting your upper arms and your shoulders and your feet bear most of the weight here rather than your neck. One more inhalation. Maybe you lift the hips a little higher, releasing into the front of the body. Exhale, lower your hips down. Keeping your feet and your arms where they are, go ahead and tuck your chin towards your chest and imagine trying to lift the back of your head off the mat. Even if it doesn't lift, you'll feel your throat constrict a little. Just work towards that sensation. Taking a few breaths here, really lengthening through the back of your neck, tucking your chin in, moving towards a lift. If you sit at a desk all day, you might be feeling this a little. One more breath. Shaking is okay. Exhale, release. Go ahead and hug your knees in towards your chest. You can rock a little side to side. Maybe rock a little front and back. And then use your momentum to come all the way up to sit. Few options here for moving into boat pose, strengthening our psoas a little. Hands under the knees, stage 1. Toes come to the mat. Keep your spine long, shoulders down. Breathe. Oh, did we forget about the breath? So easy to do sometimes. You can move deeper by lifting your toes. Flex your toes and really root through the big toe mound of your foot, like you have a line of energy coming from your hips all the way through your inner thigh and down and out into your big toes. You can release your arms, maybe, stopping at any point or returning to any variation that works for your body. Maybe grow a little taller in the spine. One more deep breath in. And exhale, release. Come on through onto your hands and knees. You're welcome here to cushion up with that blanket. Palms underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hip. And just take a few cat-cow here. Inhaling to lengthen and lift through your head. Exhale to press the mat away and round through your spine. Find a few of these at your own pace. Inhaling to open and exhaling to press and round. Really connecting your movement with your breath. Do one more of these. And then pause in that neutral spine. And just breathe here, softening your belly. And take a moment to notice how even without large movements, when you breathe, your spine is doing its own little tiny subtle cat-cow. Dancing with gravity here. Take 2 more breaths just to soften your belly and get curious about this experience. And then go ahead and tuck your toes. Lift your knees and press on back into downward facing dog. You can bend one knee and then the other. But just take a moment here. Relax your head. Now root through your thumb, your index finger, and your pinky, and all the way down through your heels. Take one more deep breath here. And then go ahead and hug your right knee in and forward. And step through into low lunge. So feel free to separate your feet a little east and west. And inhale, your arms lift. Really squaring your hips here. Rooting through the big toe side of that front foot and the pinky toe edge. Pressing the ground with that front heel. Seeing what that does. Really making sure your back toes are pointing straight forward. Pressing through your back heel. Take one more deep breath here. Maybe lift your gaze a little to the sky. And exhale. Release down. Just step your right foot back coming into plank. You're always welcome to lower your knees if you'd like. Whatever variation works for you. Pressing through your heels. Scrub your hands back slightly to lengthen through your sternum. Lengthening through the top of your head. One more breath here. And exhale. Sit your hips back, downward facing dog. Pausing for a breath. And then step your left foot forward. Again, setting up for that lunge, maybe spreading your feet a little so they're on train tracks. Lift up. Root through the big toe and the pinky toe. Press through that back heel, really squaring your hips forward. Maybe you lift your gaze slightly. Press through that front heel, really pressing into the mat. Notice how that engages your inner thigh and your glute a little bit. One more deep breath. And exhale. Release down to the mat. And go ahead and step your back foot up to meet your front. Brief forward fold. Inhale your arms all the way up, flat back. Hands come together at the center of your heart. Inhale, arms lift. Exhale, fold with a flat spine. You can bend your knees, always. Inhale, lengthen and lift halfway. Exhale, plant your palms. Step back into plank and slowly lower, maybe knees, chest and chin, maybe chaturanga, all the way down. Inhale into a little baby cobra. And exhale. Finding your way back to downward facing dog. One more breath here. Draw your right knee in and forward. Coming into that low lunge again. Rooting through your front foot, pressing through your back heel. Inhale, lift your arms overhead. So we've been here before. So what new thing about this pose can you notice? Can you explore? Go ahead and bend your back knee, tucking your hip under, and then slowly, keeping the hip where it is, start to straighten through that back leg and press through your back heel. One more breath here. Then go ahead and lower that back knee slowly all the way down to your mat. Option 1, plant your left palm and raise your right arm up to the sky in a twist. You can stay here, or if you would like a little more in that left thigh, go ahead and start to bend your back foot in, grab it with your hand, bring your hips back to your heel, and then maybe stopping anywhere along this progression that works for you, you sink your hips and your heel back down. 2 more breaths here, really hugging your right knee in towards the midline of your body. Squeezing your left glute a little to get the full sensation in that front hip. 1 more deep breath in. And exhale. Unwind. Plant your palms, tuck your back toe, lift yourself up, downward facing dog. Stepping your left toes forward. And again, low lunge on the other side here. Inhale your arms up. Root through that heel. Then go ahead and bend your back knee, tuck your hip under. Keeping your hip where it is. Reach through that back heel, straightening that back thigh. Take 1 more deep breath here. And then exhale, slowly start to lower your back knee down to maybe your blanket or your mat. Option 1, bring your right hand right beside your left foot and start to spin your heart open. Stay here, feel into this hip stretch. Hug your left knee in towards the midline, rooting through your left big toe. Option 2, maybe reach towards your foot. If you make contact with your foot, sit your hips back to your heel. And from there, settle into that right hip flexor. Have we forgotten to breathe? Ah, there it is. Remember that. Gently squeeze your right glute. 1 more breath. And exhale. Release. Go ahead and step back into downward facing dog. If you have a blanket, go ahead and move that off to the side. Come forward into plank and just lower all the way down to your belly. So we'll bring our elbows directly underneath our shoulders. Palms out in front, gripping the ground. Pressing into our elbows and forearms. Go ahead and roll your heart open. Lengthen through the back of your neck. Taking a moment here. And then release your head. Release any muscular effort aside from just holding your body up with your elbows. And I invite you here to really soften your pelvis into your mat. So the psoas starts at the spine and wraps around the front of your body into your hip. So any softening we can do of our bellies, any relaxing can really benefit us. So take a few more breaths here to really just see how much you can soften. How much can you let go of? and let gravity do the work here. Take one more breath. And just release. Release, turn your left cheek towards the mat and reach back for your right foot. Getting a little thigh stretch here. Now squeeze your right glute to move that stretch into the front of the hip. Take one more deep breath here. And exhale, release. Turn your opposite cheek towards the mat. And reach back for your left foot, hugging your left heel into your glute. Feeling that thigh stretch. And then squeezing your left glute to really release into the front hip. And exhale, release. Drawing your palms face down by your sides, we'll set up for Locust Pose here. So on an inhale, roll your heart open, lengthen through the back of your head as you lift your heart. For today, gently squeeze your glutes and lift up through your back toes. Palms, toes, and chest are lifted. One more deep breath. Exhale, release. One cheek to the mat. Maybe wiggle your hips. Turn your forehead back down. We'll find one more of these. Inhale, roll your heart open. Squeeze your glutes. Lift your toes. Lift your chest. Keep your neck long. Gaze down. One more deep breath in. Exhale. Release. Option here. You can either do what we've just done again, or draw your hips in, your heels into your hips, setting up for bow pose. Flex your feet or grab the tops of your toes. But whatever you do, keep your knees parallel. Engage your glutes, really pressing the front of your hips down into the mat. Inhale and kick back with your feet to lift your chest. Take 2 breaths up here in whatever variation you've chosen for today. And exhale, release. Pausing for a moment. Relaxing on your belly. Relaxing into your belly. And draw your palms underneath your shoulders. And come on up, sit your hips to your heels. Allow your palms to rest on your thighs. Allowing this experience to settle in your own body. Taking one more breath here. Gently blink your eyes open. If you have sensitive knees, again, feel free to cushion with your blanket. Coming up, knees parallel to each other, hips distance apart. You can tuck your toes or untuck them, your choice for balance. So I'm going to leave mine untucked for now. We'll come into Camel Pose. So bring your hands right at your waistline, your pants line, fingers facing down. Roll your shoulders up by your ears and down and away, hugging your elbows in towards each other. Gently squeeze your glutes. And on an inhalation, lengthening up through your neck. Maybe you start to go back a little as you lengthen, as you tighten your glutes a little bit. Take 2 breaths here at the top. Gently come back up And release your hips to your heels. So we work the glutes a little bit, just as a counter muscle structure to the psoas. So when we squeeze our glutes a little, it helps our psoas to lengthen and soften. So we'll come back into another camel pose. So here you have an option. You can either do the same variation we've just done, gently engaging your glutes, inhaling and lifting your gaze, or if you feel open, you can start to reach for your heels. Taking a few breaths in whatever variation you choose. Making sure you can breathe wherever you are. And then, come on up, walk your way back up. Sit your hips to your heels. And then we'll go ahead, placing your blanket off to your side or bringing it right under your hips. I like to do that to take some pressure off my low back. Go ahead and stretch into our neck a little bit. So go ahead and grab your left ear with your right hand and very gently just tug it over, releasing your right ear to your right shoulder. Breathing maybe. Breathing always, hopefully. Release your left fingertips out to the side. So we stretch our neck because our neck is part of our spine. What happens up here affects what happens in our lower body and vice versa. So it's always good to show ourselves some love. From here, gently tilt your gaze up to the sky, taking one more breath. Untwisting the way you came, exhale, and release. Shifting to the other side, left hand to right ear, left ear to left shoulder. Breathing into the side of your neck. And then lift your gaze up to the sky, stretching into the front of your neck. One more deep breath. Unwind the way you came and release. Set our blanket off to the side again if you chose to use it, remembering it's always an option. And roll down to your back. Bring your feet as wide as your mat, so cooling a little bit. Knees come together. Press into your feet, lift your hips and shift them just about 1 inch to the left. Drop your knees over to the right, keeping your feet where you are. Arms come into a T shape. Stay here, get off at this bus stop, or cross your right foot over your left thigh, flexing the foot and gently tugging on that thigh with the foot out towards the knee and beyond. Breathe here into the front of that hip. Stay here or reach your left arm overhead. Grab your left wrist with your right hand to lean over towards your right. So your arms are resting on the floor overhead, really stretching all through this left side and into your left hip flexor. Being patient and kind with whatever arises. Sometimes when we get into that hip flexor, some stuff can come up, and that's okay. One more breath here. And And slowly unwind the way you came, releasing your arms, releasing your leg, coming back to center, shifting your hips up and about an inch over to the right, dropping your knees to the left. You're always welcome to stay here or place your left foot on your right thigh, flex that foot, press that thigh away with the foot. Stay here, or if you'd like to feel more sensation, extend your right arm overhead, grab it with your left wrist, and start to lean over, pulling that arm with you over towards your left. Stretching through the whole right side of the body, really pressing that right hip forward. Take one more deep breath here. And exhale, release through the center. Now if you'd like, if you have a blanket, you do not have to do this, go ahead and roll it up. Extend your legs out and just rest your knees on the blanket. Otherwise, just rest your legs long. The blanket just helps release your psoas a little bit, takes the pressure off. Allow your palms to open and allow your body to soften into a brief shavasana. Taking a moment to really breathe into your belly. To come full circle and return to your breath. What can you let go of here? I invite you to get curious about ways you can soften here into gravity. Where you can maybe soften the tension a little. Take 5 more breaths here. Just allowing your experience to settle. And after that final big deep inhalation and big deep exhalation, go ahead and gently reawaken your body. Take some light movement. Hug your knees in towards your chest and roll over to one side. Gently press in with your palms and bring yourself up to a comfortable seat. Maybe sliding that blanket under your hips again. Taking a moment to sit up nice and tall. And to thank yourself for giving yourself this practice today. For being kind enough to yourself to give yourself the gift of yoga. Because it's such a beautiful gift. Bring your palms together at the center of your heart. Your head bows to the wisdom of your heart. May the rest of your day go well. Namaste. Gonna fly like a superhero, shoot back through that back heel, pulling the palms back, and the crown of the head shoots forward. Chest lifts off the thigh, still squaring those hips. 2 more breaths here. Really lengthening through that spine.